All right, yep, we're doing another one. We're doing Bop or Flop. So strap in. You seen that thumbnail and title? Let's go. The year was 2010, and video games were going sicko mode. God of War 3, Red Dead Redemption, Mass Effect 2, Halo Reach, Bioshock 2, maybe. I don't know. I can't really remember it that well. I think I liked it. Definitely not as good as the first one. The point is, games industry was popping off. Games developers are living like Scrooge McDuck and their gigantic banks of money because we just wanted all that goodness. But what's this? It's Christmas time at the Bop House? Which one of these tasty masterpieces am I going to wake up to Christmas morning? I had played the shit out of God of War 3 by that point, and I was ready for some new hotness to keep me out of team sports. And there was a game-shaped package underneath the tree with my name on it. I crack it open. What is it? I'm so excited. It's Final Fantasy 13. What is this? So, to be fair, I'm sure my sister went to the store and asked the guy what game would be perfect for a 16-year-old weeb who likes video games, and the cashier, he did his best, but this is what we got. But I was a sweet little boy, and I gave it a crack anyways. I'd never played a Final Fantasy, so I thought, what the hell, maybe this one will get me into it. Long story short, booted it up, hated it immediately, and vowed never to touch a Final Fantasy game as long as I lived. All of this is to explain my headspace going into this new Final Fantasy 16 game. I knew two things about this franchise. One, a Christmas memory that at the time I would have described as an epic fail. And two, it has something to do with Kingdom Hearts, I think, maybe? Oh, yeah, and then also Cloud and that other guy are in Smash, so. But I'll be damned if that PlayStation Showcase trailer didn't get me a little hype about it. Remember that? Remember that in the other video? Dang, I've never played a Final Fantasy, but this looks kind of cool. Looks a little spicy. See? That did happen. Also, I heard there were some people who worked on Devil May Cry who was going to work on this, and that had me very excited because those games are all timers. Except for 2. We don't talk about 2.
That's just a piece of crap.
But the question is, Bop or Flop?
Yeah, no, hate to say it, I'd love to have the first, flop on this channel. It's kind of dumb. I have this format, it's Bop or Flop, and I just keep bopping everything. Everything's just good, sorry. This game's fantastic. The story is engaging, the combat is fast and chunky, and it gets better the further you get in. All the world building and lore just really has its hooks in me. So just play this game if you really want to know what it's like to chew 5 gum. The game walks this line of Game of Thrones / witchery, gritty fantasy stuff, and over-the-top anime bullshit that I think it straddles pretty well.
Clive, look out!
You have your big anime moments like this. But then someone will say something like this, and you're like, oh, I'm in Game of Thrones.
I doubt that lot could stay a Moogle's fart.
But then you'll hear an anime grunt. But there's a gory, unexpected death. Where am I? I'm back in Game of Thrones. Alright, 4 is enough examples.
I was born to be your shield.
You play as a moody, one-note protagonist man, Clive Rossfield, on a quest of vengeance and then maybe some light eco-terrorism when he's feeling up to it. And yeah, sure, Clive might not be the most complex or interesting pretty boy in a fantasy world you'll spend upwards of 50 hours with, but hey, neither was this guy. But what makes up for this lack of depth is the acting in this game. I think the voice actors in this did a really good job. Clive and pretty much everyone else just pulls off a lot of really interesting scenes that make watching all these super lengthy cutscenes kind of worth it. And there's a ton. So.
Ifrit, show me who you truly are.
And it helps that the story and a handful of the side characters are pretty charming and not nearly as cringe as I would have thought they'd be upon meeting them. We got bad boy Sid. You got the love interest / dominant / former slave Jill.
There'll be time enough for atonement when we're done.
Got the best friend who's kind of weird.
I'd be lost without you.
Yeah, I'm just doing my job.
Who maybe is another love interest? And you got Dog.
And who's this fine hound I see before me?
And for everyone whining in Zelda, you can pet the damn dog. One thing I do want to point out, the story makes use of a literary device called dramatic irony quite a bit, where the audience or the player will often know the answer to a mystery or dilemma before the characters do, which can be a little hit or miss. When it works, it gives player like 2 wow moments, first when you figure it out and second when Clive figures it out. But then the downside is that maybe some of these moments would have hit harder if I had figured it out at the same time as Clive. And instead, you're kind of left feeling like Clive is just way behind.
Once and for all.
Click the to accept the truth. Bro, we accepted the truth a long time ago. That was like 3, 4, maybe 6 hours ago. We already knew the truth. So, whatever. We'll do it for you, buddy. One of my favorite parts of the game, I think it's kind of the hook. It's on the cover. It's like everything. It's these dominants. And there's these people in Final Fantasy Land that can turn into giant elemental, not always monsters. Sometimes they're just like big people, but they're awesome. And it leads to these huge fights that are like the classic God of War games, basically. It's just a huge scale and super fun to play. And just like God of War, the combat in this is just as fun as you'd expect. I will say I was a little bit annoyed with the lack of variety when it comes up to switching up the elements, or icons as the game calls them, but there's still a lot you can do with what it gives you, and it's never boring to look at, that's for sure. But like I said before, it definitely gets more interesting and engaging the deeper in you get. It kind of just keeps adding little elements that make it more fun throughout the game. And just like any game with a dodge mechanic, it's ridiculously satisfying to hit those perfect dodges. This game is way more than just Kingdom Hearts for grown-ups, and I am super glad that I took a chance on going back in on this franchise with this one. The story and combat may have their flaws, but I believe they're only more glaring because what's already there is so polished and engaging. I would say that maybe if they just... What was that? Was that boss music? Oh yeah, the music!